Israel once a year because of all their sins. Over in Hebrews chapter 10 and verse 14, it says, "For by a single offering he has perfected for all time those who are being satisfied." John 1:11, "He came unto his own and they received him not. He was rejected by his people. He was rejected by the religious leaders, mocked, ridiculed, and put to death as the ultimate sacrifice." Hebrews chapter 10, it says, "The law is only a shadow of good things that are coming, not the realities of themselves. For this reason, it can never, by the same sacrifices, be repeated endlessly year after year, made perfect for those who draw near to worship. If it could, would have not stopped being offered, for the worshipers would have been cleansed once and for all, and would no longer have felt guilty for their sins. But those sacrifices are an annual reminder of sins, because it is impossible for the blood of bulls and goats to take away sins." The ultimate cry of victory came as his suffering on the cross drew towards its close. Luke records his prayer, or his cry of victory. He says, "And Jesus, crying with a loud voice, said, 'Father, into your hands I commend my spirit.' And having said that, he gave up the ghost." Luke 23:46. The Hebrew writer tells us in chapter 6, verse 19, he says, "This hope that we have is an anchor of the soul, a hope that is both sure and steadfast, and one which enters the veil." Over in the book of John, John says, "It is finished," and he gave up the spirit, John 19:30. If you look at it, though, John's word where he says he bowed his head is powerful. It indicates that throughout the hours of suffering, the hours of ridicule from the Jews and of the humiliation that he suffered, he had kept his head upright. He was able to look his enemies in the face boldly and courageously until the end. And over in Hebrews chapter 2 and verse 9, the writer says, he goes, "But we see Jesus, who was made a little lower than the angels, now crowned with glory and honor, because he suffered death, so that by the grace of God he might taste death for everyone." You know, Jesus was offered a wine vinegar drink upon the cross, and he turned it down. However, he did go through the cup of suffering, anguish, and woe for each one of us. So let us remember those things this morning.